happened before.
Oh, we're live.
And we're live.
Yay.
Again for, what is this, week 85, right?
Okay, that's it. I'm done.
Finished.
And we're done and seen. No, so welcome Facebook family and friends. Really excited to have y'all once again for a beautiful day on a National Zinfandel Day. So to enjoy these three wines, one completely Zin and then two Zin blends. I'd like to introduce everybody here. We got Dr. Richard Becker, our fearless leader here. We've got, there he was. And then we got John Leahy, our esteemed winemaker, and I like to call evil genius for what he puts in these glasses, which is phenomenal. And then Kaylin Hall, purveyor and a maker of all things that we do around here at Becker Vineyards. And then myself, Bobby Totten, like flipping out on my name and what I do here. The wine club director here at Becker Vineyards, and so excited to do these wines. So the wines that we're showcasing, we're first going to start off with 2019 Zinfandel, which this is a really low production on this, so around 500 cases. So it's get it while you can. Then we've got the 2018 Culinaria, and then we have, last but not least, the 2016 D'Estate, which is just tasting beautifully right now. So really excited to share these with y'all, and I'd like to pass this over to Dr. Becker with some beautiful words of encouragement and what he's got going on.
I wish I could say there were not 1,100 deaths a day still in the United States from COVID. 1,100 deaths a day. Some areas only 60% vaccinated. Just encourage everyone to do everything that you can to get vaccinated, vaccinate your families, protect everybody. I think we got a chance to come out of this before the year ends, and also with that thought, just again, as we have for the past 85 weeks, just to remember and thank the people who are fighting this battle for us, and just to remember also this began with the people on the balconies in New York, playing a musical instrument, singing, lowering a bottle of wine to the people on the next floor, just as a moment of escape. That's what this is. And what's wonderful about this is we're tasting three iterations of one of the very oldest wines, Zinfandel. The name Zinfandel is an incredibly complicated misnomer, but the grapes may well be 6,000 years old and grown forever in Croatia and Hungary and Czechoslovakia and Puglia and California and Texas. So let's celebrate these, and let's celebrate the beautiful winemaking that John has done. Pardon me, it's a treat to taste these.
Well, I if you haven't poured yourself the glass of the 19 Zin, I would highly suggest doing so. So, Doc, so what was it like when they first planted the grapes in California?
No, I was there in Croatia, Georgia. It was known, and actually the early wines were made probably in sunken urns in the ground. Mm-hmm. Sort of put the grapes in and come back 6 months later and see what you found, and it was pleasing apparently.
Sure, the heart of Dalmatia.
Yes.
Yeah, my first exposure to Zinfandel was in 1997, my very first vintage in Northern California. And I think just about every vintage, maybe 3 or 4 that I didn't actually deal with Zinfandel there. And it's an incredible story of how that grape got to California to begin with, how it spread from there. Equally wonderful that Jet Wilmoth decided to plant some and grow it. And we were just talking to our viticulturist, Fritz, and he, we were very concerned about what would and would not grow in the hill country and do well. We've got a lot of environmental issues that we need to deal with. And I said, so what about Zinfandel? And he just looked at me in the camera and just deadpanned me and didn't say a word. It's like, and we talked because they form these incredibly beautiful long clusters with two wings on either side, but they're so dense and so tight that if you're not on top of powdery mildew, you've got an issue and a half. And they're very, they're kind of thin-skinned. They come out very early in the year. They bud early, so late freezes and frosts, they're very susceptible. All of that Jet has battled to get us these crops. And our first Zinfandel we did was the 2012 vintage. And then this is actually the only second vintage of straight Zinfandel that we've done, the 2019. So,
well, speaking of early ripening, the word primitivo means for early crema and vitas, or so an early ripening grape that was a clone that was probably transplanted from Croatia into Apulia on the heel of Italy, probably 300 or 400 years ago, and it was called primitivo. But early ripening is an issue.
Yeah, it really is. See, I always thought primitivo meant not quite like Zinfandel. But I don't. One last thing on that though, the Zinfandel. I think we should all wave at Kim.
That was Riley.
Yeah, no, Kim was right next to her. I was fortunate enough to go for several years to ZAP, Zinfandel Association Producers. It's a big Zinfandel fair in San Francisco every year. That
would be wonderful. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'd love to see that. Boy. Well, and the name Zinfandel is fascinating. It's a complex misnomer, and part of the name comes from a Croatian Czech Zinfandel, which was the name of a white grape, and it was misapplied to a red grape that was grown in Austria that was called Zinfandel, and so Zinfandel and Zinfandel became Zinfandel. And none of it has any reference, any relation to anything that makes sense. Just a series of misapplications of names. The original Zinfandel, the Croatian grape, was a white grape. So it's just that there was a similarity in the German name, and we think that maybe these early Zinfandel clones that came to the United States came from Austria and came from the Zinfandel tradition. Does that ring a bell with you?
Well, it does, but I know Hazarthy is from right outside of Budapest originally, and Captain Hazarthy settled, the Buena Vista winery partnership with General Vallejo and so on and so forth, early wine in California, but is often credited with bringing in the Zinfandel grape to California. Whether that's true or not, I'm not here to say, but it, those are the stories we grew up on, kind of thing.
Right. And there's evidence it was really on the East Coast a little earlier than California. First in maybe Long Island or New York and upstate Finger Lakes region, I guess. But so maybe 1820, really in the United States for the first time.
I think it's funny that in Texas, if we're not willing to admit that they make salsa in New York State, that we're going to readily admit that they make wine. I don't get this.
They're not in the group.
Oh, so okay. Before I tell any more stupid jokes, Kaylin, come in and rescue me.
I think I'm out of stupid jokes today. I'm kidding. I've already run through them all.
So what's your opinion of the Zin?
I love the Zin. I think it'll be one, it's lovely right now. It's great to enjoy right now. But I think in a few years, as we talked about a little bit before we got on Facebook, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. I know we just tasted this a few weeks back. And I'm starting to pick up more maybe dark cherry, quite a bit of herbaceousness, tobacco, maybe some mint, something along those lines. It's very pleasant on the nose and just as delightful on the palate. And then I don't know how to say it, but I know in Croatia that this Zinfandel also has a name. Do y'all know how to say it?
It's pronounced good.
Okay, cool. There's just too many consonants too close together with too few vowels in between for me to even attempt it.
I'll attempt
but
it.
I was.
It's Koroldak Kastelanski.
Okay.
Koroldak Kastelanski.
We'll work on that.
He was
but not-
he was also a 12th century murderer, so but don't worry about it. I know.
For our history lesson, everybody.
What is it between the Croats and the Welsh, and why they can't use vowels in their names?
Vowels are boring.
Vowels are boring.
Yeah, it doesn't make everything as interesting. Yeah,
Oh,
no, that's
So
awesome.
John, here's what I've read about in trying to research into that a little bit. I want your opinion. At around 24 bricks, you get red berries, raspberry, cherry. When you get above 25, you start to get blackberry, pepper, and anise.
yes.
And is that and you've tasted so many Zins. And so many, do you think does that ring true for you?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I don't think it's a hard cutoff. I think when the
Right.
sugars start coming into full maturations, when you get the lighter red fruits, when they're extraordinarily mature, you start getting the dark fruits and a lot of bramble in there too, not just pepper. And that's the demarcation point of certain Zinfandels too, is that black pepper, you know, that real zing to it. And that's usually the uber ripe Zinfandels usually have that. And, you know, it was not uncommon to have Zinfandels picked both between 23 and 24 and a half, and then the same vineyard go up to 26 and a half, really ripe. And then if you look at the foothills of California, and you start seeing those uber ripe Zins are the style of that area. You know, so you're pushing 16-17% alcohol through natural fermentation. And those become a little too heady, almost port-like. But Zinfandel has been used kind of as the, for lack of a better term, so nobody hang me on this one, the American port varietal kind of thing. So you can get Zinfandel extraordinarily ripe on the vine. It will go 34, 36 bricks. And you take it off for that port harvest, and you get some of those incredible, really jammy, nutty flavors from that making a port. First time I actually made a port was from Zinfandel, from 37 brick Zinfandel. It was very raisiny. We were getting about 100 gallons to the ton, 100 to 110 gallons to the ton. So it was, you know, dehydrating at that point. But those bramble, those bramble
John, back to our cherry bricks cut off, but in this wine, I get a lot of the red berries, cherry, raspberry. I don't know what the bricks was at harvest here, but that's, so you're going to tell me it was 27.
No, actually not quite 27. Even though Rachel will disagree, part of it may have come in close to that, but yeah, they, you know, some of that did come in extraordinarily ripe. And that was the thing, that's the thing about this particular vineyard at 24 and a half, 25, you have to almost pick it that day, because in 2 days, it just shoots through the moon. So the alcohol is pretty high on this. It is balanced, but the alcohol is 15.5%. It's not hot necessarily on the palate like you expect it to be. Yeah, but yeah, so we were pushing 26 and a half, 25 and a half to 26 and a half on there.
I know it. And so Bobby, what I want to ask Bobby and kind of what you all are tasting with terms of dark fruit, red fruit.
Yes, sir.
So I'm picking up a lot more red fruit right now on this, and I don't know if that's just attributed to age of the wine itself. I don't know if it'll start to fade off into deeper, richer components as it sits in bottle and ages. But I think it's beautiful, and I'm not picking up a lot of oak on the nose or on the palate. It's very fruity, it's very herbaceous, but I'm not picking up notes of like heavy vanilla or coffee or anything in that realm. What about you, Bobby?
Yeah, no, definitely the bright red characteristics. So like the raspberries, the cherries. I'm almost getting like a little bit of spice on the nose, like a fennel or like dried fennel. A little bit of anise.
Yeah.
I can absolutely see that.
Kind of get a little bit of like a black tea characteristic, kind of showcase in there as well. But yeah, on the palate, just a subtle faint hint of like the tobacco or dark chocolate that kind of finishes right on the end. but that the floral and the bright red fruit is just so prevalent because it's just the youth. I mean, it's so bright. So really dig this.
You think there's a mix of less and more ripe fruit, John, that explains this kind of spread in flavor? Or?
Yes, absolutely. And that's, with Texas Zinfandel, to notice from there and from our vineyards in Mason County, that the Zinfandel here, especially if you leave both the wings on, tends to sit very heavy. So we get a fair amount of pinkberry. Even as uber ripe as it comes in, we'll still have 5 to 8% underdeveloped berries on those clusters.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't uncommon in California for us to go out and trim the wings and just leave the center cluster there. And that kind of drops fruit without dropping all of the cluster.
Right.
So the clusters are monsters. You have a couple of pound cluster, 3 pound cluster. It's not uncommon.
That's insane.
Isn't it? Yeah.
That's wild. So the underdeveloped grapes, so they be sitting right in the center of the cluster?
Right.
Yeah.
And is
I'm
this
looking at comments. I'm trying to keep up. So somebody just asked about and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Caitlin. Somebody just asked about the label.
Yes, I was going to comment on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that this is an impressionistic painting of a dust storm in West Texas. The sky is brown and most of the world, and I could, Tony Bell and I grew up in this world. I can remember it being black at 2:00 in the afternoon when one of these great storms came through.
Right.
And that's what this reminds me of. He's not here for me to ask him. He might say, "Oh, you're nuts," but but anyway, that's what I see here, and I love this painting. I think John is what actually picked this out.
Yeah,
is that right?
I loved it because it reminded me of a geologic cross section. Especially after living with a geologist for so many years and watching your color.
Yeah.
So much trouble. But yeah, no, it did. And it was just like, wow, this is really beautiful. It's just he had quite a few really gorgeous paintings that would make great art labels for sure. But this is one of them. And we've used it there. And I think we've used it on one other wine coming up too.
Cab Franc?
Cab
Yeah,
Franc.
the Cab Franc. Yeah. So yeah, it's just gorgeous.
So darkness at noon.
Yeah,
and very dark berries for the most part. With
it is. It's incredibly dark.
Did you blend this at all, John? I don't know.
Yeah, there's. Let me pull it up. There's just a tiny amount of a couple little things in there, and that was more or less for the front end. Let me pull up my handy dandy little app here. We'll connect to the winery. 19's in. Okay, here we go. All right. Yeah, there's just a tiny amount of Cinsault and a little bit of Tannat in there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
John, you made the best Zinfandel I've ever tasted about 7 or 8 years ago. And was it from the same vineyard, the same source?
Yep.
And how was it? Because this tastes to me like it's on that track. And I want to know what you think about that.
I think it is. To tell you the truth, that Zinfandel that we made that year was an incredibly well balanced fruit. We had actually convinced Jet to drop some of the fruit, and I don't think he's quite forgiven me 9 years later.
Really?
But yeah, they dropped a little bit of the fruit, so we had a little more intensity than this particular one. There was on this one is on the right track. This is going to stay younger longer than I think it on just simply because it's got a few more green tannins in it at this age.
That's like a bear that says it gets laid early.
Right.
Okay, Bobby. What do you think of this? How do you compare this, and also how it's just changed in the glass in 30 minutes?
I think it's opened up delightfully. I mean, I opened this up probably about 15 minutes before going live.
Mhm.
And between then and now, a whole world of different flavor profile is just kind of
Yeah.
showed because it right when you open it up. I mean, it's of course it's just gonna to shock the palate. I mean, just it's so bright and just I mean, it's
Yeah.
the acidity is just like right there. But then as it opens up and the everything just kind of breathes. It showcases beautifully. So to decant this, I think would be a good thing to do. Definitely, have a decanter, ready to go. And I know us as a consumer, driven society, we're ready to pop that cork and just pour the glass and just get the party started. But before having the dinner or whatever, having friends over, I think popping this in a decanter would definitely serve very well.
And I have to say, I love these sommelier glasses for Zinfandel. That's my favorite. Um, but I haven't done the official trial. I probably should do that.
You can come sit down with me. I just got trained up on the Riedel glassware tastings, and I would love to have you come in and see all the cool things I learned on Monday.
I'll make an effort. All right.
All right. All right.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Bobby,
Okay.
I don't think we explained, did we, about Zinfandel Week, or did you?
Did a little bit.
Okay.
Just had mentioned that it is National International Zinfandel Week. So I mean, one day is National Day, the other day is International Day. I mean, it all kind of correlates and falls together. So that's why we're showcasing these three wines together. First, the basically all Zinfandel here, and then the blend of Zin on the Culinaria and the Destate as well. So you're definitely going to see a lot more layers in the next two wines. But we just wanted to showcase and say, this is what Zins can do in Texas.
Absolutely. Any other comments, Doc? Or any?
No, I love it. That's it's going to be fun to taste it for the next few years. And,
Oh yeah, absolutely, it will be. Okay. So I guess on week 218, we'll come back to it.
Sort of. Okay.
Well, we need to hide a pallet of the Zinfandel then. And
All right. Okay. On to the Culinaria.
Culinaria, yeah.
Wow. Wow.
You did good.
This one's been opening up. It's a nice one.
And I've said this before, but Galen, Bobby, that the first time I saw this kitchen sink blend, before I tasted it, I said, no way, this is going to work. And it's fabulous. So I yield. And I recognize my limitations.
At least anyone thinks you wandered off into the night quietly. And the real story is, after he saw this blend, he came into my office and said, I know a really good real estate agent in case you want to sell your house. So we're looking at 20% Zin, 20% Dolcetto, 15% Barbera, 15% Mourvèdre, 15% Cabernet Sauvignon, and 15% Tannat.
Don't ever say that again. But anyway, it's incredibly rich and it's blended together. Caleb, what is this like when you smell this and taste this? I mean, give us some details.
So it's incredibly rich on the nose. I pick up quite a bit of maybe some dried raspberries, a bit of cherry, but it's very toasty with maybe some chocolate or coffee components to it. I do pick up maybe a little bit of herbaceousness. I can't quite nail down what I think it is, but it is just absolutely, it smells huge on the nose. And then on the palate, it's also fantastic. I pick up maybe a little bit of like black currant, something like that. But it's very warm and I feel like this is a wine that is perfect for now that we're starting to move into cooler weather, to bring over to neighbors' houses, to bring over to friends' houses and enjoy with some really good food.
You know, we were saying, I think I'm quoted as saying that people just don't know how good Texas wine is. And this would be fun to put in front of, could we, if we ever got it in front of anyone who writes about wine, somehow, I don't know what.
I think they're called wine writers.
I think we could find someone.
Oh,
Do a little blind tasting, have some bottles and some bags, and let's go for it.
Bobby, what do you taste? What do you say?
I'm the herbaceousness. I was really like drawn into that because I'm getting the plums. I'm getting kind of the almost like a prune characteristic on the nose, but there's this green component that I'm picking up, and I'm picking up. It seems a little like dill, that just kind of showcases there.
fresh or dried?
I think dried.
Mhm. I know that sounds idiotic to say out loud, and people are like, "Oh," but there really is a different component between the two.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's a little more muted. It's not as bright, but
Mhm.
but yeah, the palate, it is so rich. I mean, it's almost getting. I mean, it's basically has got me geared up for this fall weather because it is so warm and inviting. I mean, on the palate,
Right.
just so rich, and it just kind of warms you up. Definitely has that espresso dark chocolate coffee component that just kind of showcases right on the back of the palate. But there is that nice bright fruit that's right there on the front to enjoy. So.
Gosh. I'm trying to think of what to pair this with, and I think a souffle, a Grand Marnier souffle,
Ooh,
would
I
be
love
good
that.
I love the fact that we went right into dessert.
I really appreciate that as well.
Total hedonism, but it's wow.
Mm.
You know, I'm getting just hints of crowberry and high bush cranberry in here.
What is a crowberry?
What is crowberry?
A crowberry is it grows, it looks like on a little stick of moss about this tall off the ground. It's dark black, and it's a cross between a currant and a blueberry in flavor.
What? Okay.
It grows up in the tundra, in north of a certain latitude.
Would you
I have
find
a
that?
friend in Alaska. I'll see if he can locate me some crowberry.
North of
Be able
Wake.
to. Cloudberries you can find in the Pacific Northwest.
I've heard of cloudberries.
Yeah, they look like raspberries and taste like juicy fruit chewing gum.
That sounds incredible.
Wow.
See, my neighbor, well, I've been sharing these wines with my neighbor in the evenings. And so I think I'm going to take him the Culinaria because he thinks he's not a fan of Texas wine. And so far, out of the past 2 weeks, I've dropped off wine care packages at his house. One, of course, he says thank you because that's polite. But two, he's wanted to get into really fun conversations with me about what exactly is this blend? How did this come about? I think this would be a perfect wine to also lure him over to the dark side, the Texas wine side with us. I'm working on him.
Give him a box of straws when you drop the wine.
Right. Silly straws.
There we go. Oh, remember back to the very first virtual tasting
Yeah,
days.
I'm waiting for him to pull out a straw again. Wow.
I'm picking up some floral components on the back end too. I want to say violet. I will pick a flower, and I think that sounds
Absolutely.
right.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right.
Well said. Boy,
That's a pretty wine.
this wine is all beyond description, John. It's amazing.
It's very good. I'm in love with the nose. It keeps going and going.
It does.
Please, Bobby, tell me we saved some of this aside.
Oh, a little bit right now.
Yeah.
We'll have to call Rebecca.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring back that palette of Culinaria right now.
Right.
There's a few cases.
Oh, wow.
You know what I think what I'm really enjoying about this is it's not just a tannic finish. The tannins are strong throughout the middle of the palate, and the tannins come on at about 2 through 4 or 5, but that fruit with that dryness, it just keeps going. It almost reminds me of like a bread and fruit melody. The tannin, the not raisin bread, but something a little more involved than that.
Mhm.
Like a panettone?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just
Mm.
really, really nice.
Yeah, this-
Violets are the state flower of Illinois, Caitlin.
Is that right?
I saw that from Jody, and hi,
Yes.
Jody.
Apparently she is awake and watching what we're doing.
I love it.
She's currently working nights, so
Oh my God.
yeah,
goodness.
on a very busy freeway somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah, that is.
I
That
would
is
say this is definitely a good Christmas wine.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Well said.
So I can attest to the fact that it goes with roasted fowl very well. So, in case you're curious. Any other comments on this? Any beautiful descriptors to add?
Is there such a thing as sweet fennel?
Yes.
Okay, I get that also on the nose. I'm trying to narrow down all the things I'm picking apart because there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get a bit of sweet fennel, and it just smells so beautiful.
The fresh fennel pollen is an incredible scent and flavor additive to food too, if you ever have a chance to get a hold of some. But that sweet fennel is exactly what fennel pollen smells like.
Noted.
Yeah.
I will see what I can find out there in the world.
You can actually find it online at cooking stores and stuff. You can get fennel pollen.
Nice.
People add it to things like when they make homemade seafood sausages or different things into marinara. It's a beautiful additive.
Sounds like it would be.
Yeah.
But I'm getting a lot of after you said that wood violet, I am these deeper toasted notes are starting to come forward a little bit more as it warms up. The warmth behind that, the earthiness is coming out, and I really like that.
It really is.
Charles,
Wine.
Charles Gage is asking
Mhm.
me, and I don't know the answer. Is there a French wine that has this type of taste? This profile?
Actually specifically just any that in France that comes close to what Texas does with this grape. There are incredible French wines all over the place, Charles, as you very well know, but I am not aware of Zinfandel being grown anywhere in France. So
I think any French wine, to me,
the richness,
close to the wine close to this would be Sauterne.
right?
It's a white wine, but it has all those complex flavors,
Mhm.
and this has kind of a incredible sweetness. It's not sugar, it's fruit.
Well, what about some of the wines from the Languedoc?
Well, I don't think I know enough about them, but they have a lot of depth and a lot of sort of flavors like anise
Mhm.
and some dark fruit, but they don't have this complex richness or sweetness almost. These
Well,
fruit notes, these berry notes.
The Gigodas, the wines of Gigodas have some incredibly rich dark fruit to them.
Yeah.
But those are the Syrah Grenache behemoths there. But I'm not real
That's
sure.
going to be Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvèdre,
Right.
and there's some great fruit there, but not this much. I mean, this is just over the top.
Mhm.
And somebody was asking about wines for Thanksgiving. If you put this down next to the turkey would have to come in second place. I mean, this would match wonderfully with it, I think.
Well, we're actually doing standing rib roast for Thanksgiving, so
Uh-huh.
this might be good.
Yeah.
What? Oh, yeah. Let's see. Oh, I like this one a lot. Thank you, Dane. Need Thanksgiving wines, Lori. Well, they come in bottles that look an awful lot like this.
Touche. You know, that's
Yeah.
uh,
Oh,
actually
oh.
next week's picks. That's
Yeah, hold your horses. You're jumping ahead of the crew.
Yeah. So, anyways,
Already spilled the beans in the comments.
Oh no.
I know. I had to.
but we'll revisit that at the end.
Sure.
We're tasting through these wines, so
Yeah. Well, I love the fact that you picked the 3 wine for Zinfandel week, Bobby. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Do you guys have anything else to add to the Culinaria?
No, it's the step to estate is interesting.
Right.
It's like the fruit is down a notch, but all the other components of
Yeah.
bramble and anise and pepper and are there.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of there's a nice depth of cellar in this Distate as well, the 2016.
Mhm.
This is more the direction of the Languedoc wine in my memory. Different grapes for sure, but what's the blend here, John?
Yep, that's I just said I've got to look this up because it's been a while. And hopefully it's on the app. 16, the Estate. How about 16?
By the way, we got a great recommendation from our principal wine palate, Jody, and she said Kunwa for Thanksgiving. And boy, that's back on. I mean, that's right.
Too bad we're having really good cab. No, I can get away with this because she's like 1,800 miles away. So, okay. The 2016 D'Estate has it's 38% Zin, it's 33% Dolcetto, it's 15% Merlot, 14% Cab, and just a touch, not even quite 1% Petite Syrah.
Jody lives, yeah.
Zin, Dolcetto, Merlot comprise the vast majority. Yeah. Just enough Cab to give it that depth, the kind of cellar edge on the nose. Billy, more counties, more cowbell. I like it. Yeah. So Doc, what are you getting on the nose on this D'Estate?
Golly. So it's a dark fruit for sure, and some anise, some pepper. It's so different from the Culinarian.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Wow. And side by side, them.
And but I love it.
That is night and day difference. Once you Pantone bread, you're right, Bobby, about the Pantone. Anyway, I just went back to the Culinaria to compare them.
Yeah.
Culinaria's got a little more dry fruit,
Yeah.
that depth of character.
Right.
Where this is much more dark earth notes. These are more, it's more earth toned.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we should get Margaret's opinion.
It's going out to work on summer.
Oh,
I think.
Your voice is coming from the geese back there.
Oh goodness. Kaylin, what do you get on the nose and flavor?
So in comparison to where we've been, this is much more earth driven than I'm picking up on the nose initially. I am trying to get some really good swirl going to pick up additional things. But I'll say that I am also getting maybe I'm getting some red fruit, raspberry, cherry, things of that nature. maybe a little bit of like white pepper, like very subtle white pepper,
Yeah.
and some baking spices on the nose. And then on the palate, it's pretty much following suit. But I'm picking up maybe hints of maybe like cedar on the palate, maybe some a little bit of something that is ranging in the mint or eucalyptus family, as well as some chocolate and coffee. And I think part of that's probably due to oak on this.
Right.
But it's a lovely wine, and it's velvety smooth right now.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So summer in Italian, I stopped there. Yeah, this is very much a summer scene in Austin with a hammock, and it looks hot. So a background symbol of the Texas Tower
Yeah.
in Austin, and Tony's house was about this far away from downtown. I'm not sure you could see the Texas Tower, so he may have just added that in, but having fun.
Oh, that's
Kind of neat.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely getting a little bit of that kind of forest floor, kind of like moss kind of character on the nose.
I think you're right on with that.
And then on that palate, definitely getting a little bit of that white pepper that you were bringing up. But yeah, it is velvet. It is velvet in the glass. It's beautiful. Oh, just love this. I mean,
It's kind of funny. I've noticed this week that we're a little less talkative and more nose into the glass.
yeah,
Each of the three of these.
A lot of complexity here. That's
Yeah,
right.
there is. It's just funny to me. The cadence is way different from the previous few weeks. It's like, hold on,
We're smelling deeply here.
yes. And this D'Estate, I had to go search around the winery for a few of these to pick them out. So I'm glad we had enough to.
right. You know, Kaylin, I always say it's better to smell deeply than to smell poorly.
If that's not the truth.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, that is good. Hmm.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, I've got to start asking, because these three wines are, one, they're all good, and if you are lucky enough to have gotten this pack from us and enjoying them, I hope you feel as good about it as we do. I certainly am really glad to be able to try all three of the Zinfandel based blends together. That's absolutely have not done this before.
And none of us thought about this until Bobby. It was Bobby's idea. It's a
Yes,
great idea.
yeah. And he came up to me and he's like, I got that week this a couple of weeks ago. He's got the next week, it's all Zinfandel. And I was like, you're gonna send him 319s? And then it's like, no, the D'Estate, we got the Culinaria. I was like, oh, this will be great. This will be fantastic to do. Absolutely. So Bobby, thank you so very much for diving so deeply into it. And I feel kind of bad because we keep you there late, chained to the desk multiple days a week. I feel almost bad enough that I think I'll bring you some food tomorrow. So should be fed at least once a week, right? Just,
Okay.
yeah. Just I keep looking outside because I don't want Angela to drive up here, and I want my husband back.
Well, like I tell everybody that I serve, that the Becker family takes care of me, and I love taking care of the Becker family here as well. So really appreciate y'all.
Well, same here, Bobby.
You got a job for another week, buddy.
Yes.
Okay, we've got to get on to food pairings, because this is just way a lot of wine. So I don't know, maybe pick your favorite wine and favorite food, or if you want to do all three, you can. I don't want to try to stick everybody in there, because I've been thinking of so many different things. So I'm like, would it go with this? Yes, this, here, no, yeah. So I'm not going to pick on you, Kaylin, but you get to go first.
Okay, so I'm not sure who I want to pair with what, but throughout this, I've been keeping track of things that have come to mind. Pasta puttanesca, I think would be beautiful. Eggplant parmesan would just be killer.
Mhm.
Grilled steak with balsamic glaze, I think would also be really lovely.
Ooh.
Those are the top of my list, but I also have some espresso belvatano in the refrigerator, and I think that's probably going to win out just based upon convenience.
Mhm.
And I think it'll be lovely as well.
Okay. That
That's
all sounds, you said, you had me at pasta puttanesca.
I know it sounds so good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Bobby, what do you think, sir?
So the Zinfandel, I was thinking cacio e pepe.
Mhm.
Ooh.
So with the Zinfandel, so that nice pepper with the just light sauce, just with pasta, I
Mhm.
think that would just be phenomenal with the Zinfandel.
Okay.
I agree.
Doc, sir, what do you think?
I don't want anything that wants to take it on in battle. I think these tastes are so delicate and so wonderful, so rich. I don't want barbecue or beef or anything big. I want something subtle.
Mhm.
I want a really wonderful mushroom soup. I want a great fresh baguette with butter
Mhm.
and just bread and butter and Zinfandel. That they would taste pretty well, but something that's sort of just appreciative, not combative with this wine. They're too complex.
True.
Well, a mildly sweet and mildly savory for me on the Culinaria. I would love to pair it with a onion and pear tart. They're not super sweet. They've got some great earthiness to them. I think that would be very good. I also think I kind of jump down to the Boot Heel area, or actually over to Sicily, and think about an agrodolce dish, like a fish agrodolce, which means sour sweet. So you get these incredibly, glazed out. You mentioned balsamic reduction or glaze on there, but I'm thinking more of a hard vinegar reduction with a little bit of sweetness and a little bit of savory in there. I think would be wonderful. And then Doc has to come by with mushroom soup, which I think would just about.
And a baguette and some really good butter.
What about like a really good French onion soup? Yeah, it might be pretty good.
John, an observation that I'm really liking is from Susan Hanks, saying that of the three, Zen is maybe her favorite. You have to go back and taste the Zen now.
Okay.
And it's amazing where it is. It has kind of a purity that I'm loving.
What I'm finding absolutely incredible are the pyrazines that keep coming forward.
Yeah, but they're beautiful pyrazines. They're not.
Yes. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Susan, I can't argue with you. That's I think we should send a thank you note to the winemaker. He's done a really interesting job with it.
We can't do that. We want his head to be able to fit through the door when he comes to work.
Yeah. Trust me, it'll still fit.
Gotta stretch that screen out a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Sam Herbert said that the Zen comes through in all three of these wines, and I think that's real. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. You're right. That is absolutely awesome.
It's an interactive Zinfandel.
I'm going back to that Culinaria. I love the other two. That D'Estate is great. This Culinaria
is something. Yeah.
Okay, I got to put the glass down. I'm just going to sit here and smell the wines all night. So, Bobby, what do we have online for next week, sir?
So next week we're looking at Thanksgiving week wines. So this is going to be week 86.
What did you pick, Bobby? I want to hear this. Yeah.
It was a collaboration. So Kaylin, Tyler, and myself kind of sat down and said, what would be great with Thanksgiving this next week? Something that pairs well with everything. So of course, Jolie Rosé, 2018 Jolie Rosé. You got to have a rosé. And 2015 Prairie Roti was suggested. So the roti I think would go well because sun drenched roasted. I mean they go well together. And then the 18 Petite Syrah because not every Thanksgiving is traditional. So as Kaylin had mentioned, we were talking about that not everybody has a traditional Thanksgiving. So the 18 Petite.
My mom does a lot of beef tenderloin.
Yeah, my brother-in-law did prime rib last year, so that would just be amazing. So that is what is online for next week.
Oh,
That sounds absolutely wonderful. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. So any final words, anyone? Anyone want to add any final comments to the wines or the pairings?
Bobby, nice fish is what I say. Wow.
Thank you. very
Absolutely,
much.
Bobby. What a wonderful, yeah. Thank you.
Thank
A
y'all.
wonderful thing.
To share this with everybody out there is just wonderful, and I'm hoping everybody is enjoying these just as much as we were tonight.
It's a treat
Yeah.
for me.
Okay, everyone, I would just like to say thank you again for joining us. We're making it through. I hope your spirits are keeping up, and if your spirits are dragging, just join us again anytime virtually. So we're here to cheer you up. Anyway,
Yes.
Right.
thank you for letting us in your homes and your hearts. Good wine,
Margaret.
good health. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.